Welcome back, everybody. Nice to be here all together in our next session, which is about re-enchanting neighborhoods. And, we all had an experience of neighborhood growing up and this warm feeling of belonging. So before I call on the stage our fantastic panelists, I would like to share two slides. If we can have the slide of the start, please. So if we check what a neighbor is, according to the etymology, it derives from the Old English word "nia gebor," which means the one who lives near. So nia and gebor is dweller or inhabitant. So it's the near thing, it's a sense of closeness, to be physically close, a community, and this physical proximity. And because we are in Greece, let me share this other information. The word in Greek is gitonia, neighborhood, and the neighbor is giton. And the same word, giton, has existed many centuries. So, we also find it at Hesiod's Works and Days, back in the 8th century, where he says in Greek, «Τόσοι ο κακός ο γείτονας πληγεί, όσοι ο καλός βοήθεια μεγάλη». So a bad neighbor is as much of a burden as a good neighbor is a great help. So we see that throughout history, it was very important for people to feel that they belong somewhere, to be close to each other and to help each other. So with this introduction, now I would like to call 5 special people that each in their own work assist in re-enchanting neighborhoods, because somehow now with the digital world, we feel like we belong in groups only in Facebook, and okay, this is great, I have many friends, but this isn't the case, We want to have a connection with our 5 senses. It's not just connecting through electric cables and, we need physical contact. So let me call them on stage. First, we have Adriana Grigoriou. Here she is, a big applause. She's a project coordinator of CAN, Community Arts Network. Then we have Angeliki Lambiri, who's Director of Strategic Planning and Operations of the World Human Forum. And she was also in the Cultural Capital of Europe 2023, so she will talk about this in the CARE Manifesto. Jacob Moe, founder of Archipelago Network. And Jacob has a little surprise for you. And last but not least, Victoria Peill, founder of Duara Education and Our Wonder House in Nairobi. So we start with Adriana Grigoriou. Adriana, the floor is yours.
Hi, I'm Adriana Grigoriou. I'm the projects coordinator at Community Arts Network. I'll call it CAN from now onwards. And I actually wanted to start with a video, so if we can have the video.
It's amazing because the kids come from literally everywhere.
I'm from Afghanistan. And it doesn't matter if they don't play perfectly. What matters to us is that when they leave, they go to other countries, and when they go into a classroom, they will have the same values, the social values that they would need in order to grow as human beings.
It's its own language, art. Art is art, You cannot speak it, you can feel it.
It's make me so happy to play music.
I think it reminds us all of what the really important things in life are.
And I think also we are doing a big impact, not only on the kids, but also on the Greek community. I want to be famous, and one day I will be.
So this is El Sistema Greece Youth Orchestra. I used to work for El Sistema as well back when it first started, so I had a first-hand experience of what these kinds of projects can do for the community and for the neighborhood. El Sistema Greece has various locations. One of the locations that we used to work at that now is closed, that's just around the corner, is Skaramagas. when Myrto asked me to talk about this subject, it brought a whole lot of memories from Skaramagas. One was about the space, the music room. So kids from the camp would come and play music and learn how to play musical instruments. And because it was the happy place of the students, it was well respected from the rest of the community. A lot of other containers that contained valuable materials or were offices were pillaged multiple times, whereas the music space always remained safe. We had violins in there, we had, I mean, not super expensive instruments, but it was always a safe space. It was also a place where I could call it the Skaramagas community, but in actual fact, it was several communities that were divided by religion, nationality, language, but within the classroom, all of them blended, and music really created a bridge within those different communities. I remember a mom that told me that her son would never leave the container when they first came. And then through the music classes, he made lifelong friends. I'm still in contact with some of the students, and they're still friends, even though they're in different countries in Europe. Then I thought of talking a little bit about Kypseli, which is Elsistema Greece's main location. As some of you may know, Kypseli is a multicultural neighborhood. It has Greeks, refugee families, first, second, third generation immigrant families. And there I remember how for the students, Elsistema Greece was their second home, like it was their safe space, and they would spend all afternoons there, even though they might not have classes. And I also remember how the parents would thank us because it gave an opportunity to their children that they didn't have. They weren't financially able to support music classes for their children. And Elsistema Greece offers free music education to all, regardless of cultural background, social status. And then it also offered an alternative pathway. So there were some students that applied and got into the public music school in Athens, which we might say might offer other opportunities to them compared to the standard public school. And some of them even decided to become professional musicians. So yes, Elsistema, since I left and since the beginning of its life, has grown. Now it's in 8 locations, and it's in 2 cities. It's in Athens and it's in Corinth. It's funny how we're right in the middle. It's in 2 refugee camps, in Schisto and in Corinth, and in 2 centers for unaccompanied minors. Now it has 750 students coming from more than 43 countries. Zooming out, for those of you that don't know anything about Elsistema programs, it started in Venezuela in 1975 by, what?
It's okay.
The time. Okay, I'll be faster. It's a global network. It's a European network. This program in Venezuela had a ripple effect because of its success, because it managed to take the children out of the barrios of Venezuela and give them an alternative path, as I said. And now it's in more than 75 countries all over the world. And of course, there's figures like Gustavo Dudamel that really made it famous worldwide and wanted to bring the classical music to a wider audience. We have a recent example of Coldplay playing with a youth orchestra of Venezuela at the Wembley Stadium. And of course, music is only one type of art form that can be used for social impact and to unite neighborhoods and communities. There's also drama, poetry, the visual arts, you name it. And I had some examples. I don't know. I don't think I have that much time. But the important thing is to think how from the global you can go to, from the local you can go to the global and create these synergies. Yeah, I think it's the only option we have in how the world is at the moment, to work with communities, harness the power of the arts, and create these connections, also on a personal level, connecting to what you were saying as well.
And Community Arts Network also does a similar thing, right?
Exactly, which brings me to the video, which will explain how this network works. El Sistema Greece is one of the members, but we're almost at 1,000 members now, all over the world, using various types of art for social impact. And the projects are countless, and the benefits are countless for the communities and the neighborhoods.
How can one join Community Arts Network?
It's completely for free.
It's global, so everybody in the world can join.
Yes. You just register through the website.
Okay.
And can I have the second video?
As humanity, we're standing at a civilizational crossroads. But the major interconnected challenges of our time will only be answered in collaborative ways that are yet to be invented. At such a juncture, we believe that art is presented with a unique role, a vital responsibility to transform what it is to what it could be. In the search for generating impact in new ways, the Community Arts Network reimagines arts for education, climate, democracy, hope, business, and well-being. Can invites, enables, and connects all those who believe in the power of arts for change. Social innovators and policymakers, artists and institutions, activists and business leaders. Together, we are building unlikely partnerships, integrating art to shape a more humane future. Let's create impact together.
Thank you very much. And I have to say that we have a personal contact, impression also, what you described of this choir and how exciting it is, because we worked with El Sistema Greece for a Eden film. We filmed it like 1.5 years ago, and in Olympia. It's called Eden in Olympia with Joyce Di Donato, and there were 3 choirs participating. One was the National Opera Greek National Opera Choir. The other one was a French choir, and the third choir was El Sistema Greece, and the 3 choirs united to sing together the Olympic anthem and a beautiful other song which is called Seeds of Hope, where the kids are the mouths of the trees, and you could see these different choirs, a national choir together with El Sistema. It was beautiful, all these worlds coming together, kids from Europe, Africa, Asia. It was beautiful, and you could see the bonds forming. And actually next door, we will be showing the behind the scene of the film tonight and tomorrow, so whoever wants to see the behind the scene can do that. So thank you very much. It's very exciting what you do.
Thank you, Myrto.
And next we have Angeliki Lambiri, and I have to say that the beautiful thing, and this is why Angeliki will talk about this, is that Elefsina still has strong neighborhoods. Again, here in Elefsina, there are people that have arrived here in different decades from other parts of the country, other parts of the world, and they have formed neighborhoods and communities. They have mingled, and you still, when you walk around in Elefsina, you have this beautiful sense that, yes, there are small communities, small neighborhoods. You see people with bicycles going around. Yeah, of course, it's a flat place, so it's easy to have a bicycle. But anyway, you have this sense. So last year, Eleusis, cultural capital, 2 years ago, created this Care Manifesto, and Angeliki will tell us more about it.
Hello. I hope that you have a great time here. There is a silence, so you can interrupt us at any time. So I want to begin saying a little bit about what is European Capital of Culture, because maybe some of you are not familiar with what is about. It's a European title, it's an award that is given to European cities. It started in 1985, it started with big cities taking this award, big cities with big events, big festivals, big names, big artists coming to the cities and be hosted. This title changed over the years, and nowadays this title is given to cities, small-scale cities, medium-sized cities, like Elefsina, for example, that is a small-scale city, just 30,000 inhabitants, hosting like more than 500 events in a year in 2023. And why this changed? Because the needs have changed. So the European Capital of Culture is not about just hosting big events. It's about putting at the center of policies and strategies, city strategies, culture and art, and how we are facing and tackling the local challenges, the national challenges, the European challenges through art and culture. So this process can be done only through bottom-up processes, and how we have the communities, like Elefsina community, that it's a community that doesn't have anything for granted. It's a city with a great history. Some of you have visited today, this morning, the archaeological site, together with Kallio Papageli and also Mr. Cousineau, and you saw that there is a lot of history behind the city. But the European Capital of Culture is not about what the city is, it's about what the city dreams to become. And this journey started like 10 years ago, in the end of 2014. I can show you some pictures of the community art that we have done during 2023. And 90% of the program was community art, together with our community here in Elefsina, inside different neighborhoods. And because it's close to Athens and the cultural field is situated in the center of Athens, what we try to do is to empower the local community and to create new ones, like the youth community or the community of the web radio, that it's just behind the scene and broadcasting what is happening here. So during the process of work inside the whole Eleusis 2023 team, we realized that care is part of our working process. Taking care of the needs of the community, taking care of the needs of the policymakers, the needs of the industry, because here in Elefsina, 35% of the industrial production is still produced here. The needs of the researchers that came here to do different research. So you understand that all these people that came in Elefsina and still coming, they have different needs and different languages. So how we are taking care of all these needs and how all these different communities that came here create a shared language and find a common solution to tackle different challenges of the city. So in 2023, together with Culture Action Europe, we did the annual meeting here. Culture Action Europe is a European network, and they are doing advocacy about the cultural field. And together with them, we did this meeting, the Beyond the Obvious, and the main theme is Handle with Care, Culture for Social Well-being. This is the barcode that it would be great if you can a little bit, scan it and check it. Yeah. And this is actually the outcome of 3 days, of what happened these 3 days. And 185 practitioners, local practitioners, cultural practitioners, scientists, different kind of people from different fields came together for 3 days and focus through speeches and workshops in this thematic about care and about social well-being and how art and culture can contribute on that. So care is a human need, of course, that is undervalued. And care is a social, let's say, concept that can have a huge transformative potential for our cities, for our communities, for our neighborhoods, for our, nations, for our world. And through this manifesto, there were different categories of the report: care for the climate, care and borders, care for the commons, care and mental health. There was a thematic really nice that with great speeches yesterday. Care and youth, care for the work of culture. We spoke also yesterday that the cultural field is quite fragile and fragmented. And care and curating care, sorry. But I will focus in communities of care. And in these 10 years of the European Capital of Culture, I think that we just scratched the surface of this. But our goal was how we give voice to marginalized communities that are based here. How we create like a safe space for different voices to just sit on the table all together and speak about the challenges of the city. And about the challenges of the city that you see, Elefsina has a great history, but also has a lot of challenges. And how we change this narration for the city, how we re-enchant the city for the outsider, but also for the citizens themselves. Because when I came in the city just 9 years ago, a lot of citizens were embarrassed to say that they are from the city. And I hope that after 9 years this has changed. And I'm really happy that here in the Symposium, after so many years, I see a lot of Eleusinians that are sitting here, that we could not take this for granted, because it's something that was created from this kind of care and trust that we wanted to bring. But as I said, we just scratched the surface of this approach, because this needs a long-term, a lot of work, long-term work, and policies that, just keep going and not just being one-off. So my time finished.
Wow, okay, you're very punctual.
I will just...
Thank you very much. I have to say that I participated in this workshop, and it was really interesting, because you have a care manifesto, you have a socialist manifesto, liberal manifesto, but the care manifesto, I found it amazing. And that's why at the World Human Forum, we want to reignite this care manifesto and spread it, And now, since we will come here every year, we want with the local people, to work together and, spread this care manifestos as wide as possible. And I want to add one last thing concerning care, that, we spend our lives trying to achieve, trying to tick boxes, quantity, and we forget to care. And it doesn't matter how much we do, it matters the way we do it, the quality of things. So caring for our neighborhood, caring for other people, caring for nature, and we should care for ourselves too, and Elefsina is the place to care for ourselves. So thank you very much, Angeliki. We promise that we reignite this, so please scan the QR code. And next we go to Jacob Moe, who's a native of New York, but he's been living in Greece, and he preferred to talk in Greek, actually, but I persuaded him to talk in English.
Kalispera σας. I'll start with the first two words, but I'll switch to English. Thank you very much, the whole World Human Forum team, for this invitation and the wonderfully choreographed event. I'd like to begin with a brief phrase from the novelist and poet John Updike. I quote, "At any moment, an old world is passing and a new one is coming into being. We have sharper eyes for the fall than the rise because the old world is the one we know." Over the past 5 years and counting, my team and I have been working with community groups throughout the Cyclades, the islands you see before you, to document the material knowledge and audiovisual memory of the islands. Responding to today's theme of neighborhoods, I'll be reading selected excerpts from oral histories that we conducted with captains, fishers and boat builders on 5 islands in the context of our organization's Maritime Trades of the Cyclades project. And in doing so, I hope to offer a sea-level glimpse of the interconnected neighborhood of the Greek islands, as well as its contemporary transition between these old and new worlds. But first, a quick step back in history. What you see here, perhaps you recognize, are rock engravings of ships located in Syros, dating, depending on the rock, between 2000 BC and also the early 1900s. And I wanted to start in order to illustrate the historical scope of these seafaring communities, as well as note our perpetual human desire to leave traces and tell stories to one another. So I'll begin accompanied by an image from each person whose voice I'm borrowing for today's presentation. This is Anthi Arvanitis, a second-generation fisherwoman from Santorini. Quote, "Fishers don't have the mentality of a teacher. The sea teaches you. My father's family were 8 children, 4 boys and 4 girls. I remember my aunts preparing the long lines for my uncles who would go fishing. One thing that was common to all of them, which I took for granted as a child, is that they always looked after the sea. I remember my grandfather, he would teach us about the beach below our house, a beach filled with rocks and stones called kalami. He taught us that the little shellfish we picked up had to be thrown back into the sea. They weren't big enough to eat. Or the small fish, if it was not the right time to catch it, you had to throw it back. This mentality was passed on to his children, my uncles, and me." And now to Paros with Captain Manolis Zisimopoulos. "I've been on or around ships since I was 11 years old. My grandfather and my father also had ships. I took my first steps in the hull of my father's boat. As far as I can remember, we used to trade wine. It was exported from Santorini and transported to Piraeus. Or we'd go to Paros from Volos. Those were usually the routes. We also carried barley, bringing it to the fix factory in Athens to be made into beer. These ships used to transport agricultural products between and to the islands. Potatoes, flour, anything like that. This all happened until the late 1970s. Then gradually, tourism grew. We started transporting materials for construction, cement, bricks, dynamite, and such from the mainland to the islands. And now over to Little Koufonissia, to Kostas Prasinos, a captain. In May, fish like red mullets burrow into the sand. You'll find them where the sand is clear. The sea holds many secrets like this. When I'd fish red mullets, I kept a calendar. On May 10th, I got some in such and such a place, I'd write, so I know to go back there. You forget things, you know? I'd jot my notes down in a little notebook so the next year I'd go back to the spot and get a good catch again. And something else, the fisherman has to be a liar. If you tell the truth, you're ruined. If you go around telling everyone where you got your big catch, you won't even find your fishnet buoy there the next day. They'll have taken everything. So if you hear a fisherman telling the truth, then they're no fishermen at all." It's true. Yannis Vasiliopoulos, a fisherman and librarian from Paros, the same island. "On our island, whether you go to university or not, as a child you would work on trawlers and fishing boats. It's part of one's education here, not always linked to making a daily wage. No matter how rich a father was," sorry, move over to the image. "No matter how rich a father was, they'd send their son on a fishing boat. This was back in the decades before and after the war. There were great professors and important lawyers born on an island, but they all began life together at sea. Now Sopot had many such boats. There were about 20. All imports and exports were done by boat. They'd export wine to Istanbul and to Odessa in the Black Sea. The old women of the village used to say that they would wear black mourning dress when the fishing boats departed. Everyone had relatives on the boats, and it was a dangerous journey to the Black Sea." And now Dimitris Skiadas, president of Naousa's Fishing Association in Paros. "Through the years, I didn't take enough time to talk to previous generations about learning to read the weather. Reading the clouds, reading the moon. That's how they knew if the weather would turn bad. In summer, they could predict the weather by following the Meltemi winds. I've gathered very little knowledge from the previous generations of fishermen throughout my career. They used to navigate the sea by reading the stars. Now, you can check the weather forecast anytime. People didn't use these weather apps and the storms would just suddenly hit them. You couldn't find all this information that's accessible to us now today. It's true that technology has really helped us, but it's the abuse of it that harms us. Nicolas Becris, a third-generation fisherman from Amargos. Port and fishing are intertwined. Fishing depends on the port and vice versa. Therefore, the local community is directly linked to the fishing boat, the fishermen, the crew, and so on. Also, many other professions are involved in this business. Shipyards, paint shops, engineering workshops, dozens, even hundreds of professions. And these wooden boats are a part of our culture. The Trejadiri, the Liberty, and Caravoscaro designs were the ones to supply and connect the islands for the past hundreds of years. And now, these professions are all disappearing. And finally, Stathis Alipradis, a boat builder from Paros. Unless you start building a boat, you can't learn by theory. The same goes for design. You need to harvest the wood, mark it, and see what's missing. Otherwise, you can't do a proper job. When we were marking one of the first boats I helped build, we had these standard-sized red pencils. Back then, the trend was to cut your hair short, and my ears are a little pointy, so the pencil didn't sit on them right. So I used the pencil I had for school. One pencil is wider, the other narrower. I started marking the boat with my pencil, my grandfather marking it with his red pencil from the other side. But when our pencils met, the lines weren't aligned. Obviously, the ship's hull came out all crooked. But my grandfather didn't say anything until we made a mistake, and that's how I learned. I'll end on this image from Santorini boat builder Marcos Troulos, taken from a series from his family that depicts the transport and eventual launch of newly built kaiki from the village of Via down towards the sea below in a kind of a community choreography. The islands, as I know them, are in many ways enchanted places, but the very practices they have safeguarded for centuries are now under threat. And the intergenerational knowledge, of which some you've listened to in this very brief presentation, I think holds valuable lessons not only for island Greece, but for the world at large. And I hope we have time in that conversation after this to elaborate on that altogether. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Jacob. And actually, this is a proof how technology can help connect us again, because I gather all this information are online on Archipelago, on the site. So, people can learn about it, and it's a point of discussion and of start meeting again and discussing around this. So thank you very much. And again, last but not least, we have Victoria Peill, and she's the co-founder of Wonder House and of Douara Education. I got it. So she came all the way from Nairobi. So a big applause, please.
Thank you. As we're getting the little presentation loaded, I just want to do a quick poll. Raise your hand if you stepped out of your comfort zone in the last couple of weeks or so. Wow. Raise your hand if you've allowed yourself to be truly seen by maybe somebody you know or a stranger. Great. Raise your hand if you believe that this is true for the majority of the people in your neighborhood. So these were some of the questions we asked ourselves. We being my wonderful co-founder Maria and I, who's sitting in the audience. And this is why we then created the Wonder House. The Wonder House is a safe space to explore and express yourself and to connect with yourself and each other authentically. What is it concretely? There's the video. Okay. Let me pause here. What is it concretely? First of all, it is an invitation to inner transformation. We felt that there was not really a physical place for inner holistic transformation. There's our homes, where we often feel safe, but maybe don't want to really go out of our comfort zone so easily. There's our workspaces, where we might feel safe, might not, and comfort is also questionable sometimes, getting out of our comfort zone. There are friendship groups. Of course, there's a lot of comfort. Maybe churches, whatever it is. But we were longing for a place where you could be safe to get out of your comfort zone, to follow your curiosity, to be courageous, and where there was no judgment, where there was no fear, and where vulnerability was being invited and not avoided. And so we created it. Our portal for this inner transformation was wonder. Wonder being open, meaning that you're open to being receptive and to being touched by awe, by grief, as we hear, by love. Wonder meaning that you're open to have the courage to be vulnerable, to allow yourself to be seen. Some experiences, sorry. Our beginnings, as you can imagine, didn't come that easily. We were wondering if wonder itself can become a practice. And so many people wanted to label it, to box it. Is this a co-working space? Is this a yoga studio? Is this an art residency? People were uncomfortable with getting out of their comfort zone, were uncomfortable with not knowing what they're getting into in this physical space, to be vulnerable. So we took them by the hand, step by step. We invited them in, lovingly, sometimes pushed them a little. And over time, we built a collective muscle of wonder. And 4 years later, we've had over 1,000 experiences at this beautiful space. We've had over 10,000 people wonder collectively and let themselves be seen, be open, get out of their comfort zone. We've had lots of different communities come through, lots of ages. And so, somebody asked today, like, how did you make it that it survived? Because these initiatives can often start and then they crumble. And we think that what really allowed us for it to survive were three things that we're sharing. So one was our commitment to accessibility and really thinking about how can we go beyond contribution expertise. Because so many spaces have financial barriers, have denominational barriers, social, psychological. Today, coolness was mentioned, and suddenly you feel excluded in some way or the other. And so for us, we really wanted to make it accessible by, first of all, asking who is a wanderer? And that is not a membership club, that is not hoops that you have to step over, but it is ultimately something that you can self-select yourself, where you, if you're open to inner transformation, if you're open to putting something in yourself, then you are a wanderer. Secondly, financially accessible. We wanted to not make that any limit, and so all of our experience have a contribution model where you can contribute what you can, which can be finances, which can be your time, your energy, whatever you can give. And lastly, we wanted to make it accessible for those who are creating experiences, because not so many people came to us like, I'm not an expert, I'm not a teacher, I don't have anything to share. It's like, no, everybody has a passion, everybody has something that you wonder, everybody has something you're curious about, and I know all of you have something which you might want to explore with each other. And so we really turned around this idea of who is an expert, who is a teacher, because everybody is a wanderer at the Wonder House. I'm going to skip a bit faster. The second pillar was the idea of really collective creation over curation. And so it's not me who sits there or Maria every day and is like thinking, oh, what should we do today? So we create an experience about bipolar awareness. It is the collective that's coming up with these experiences every single day. And it is therefore a living organism that can respond, and over the last couple of years has responded to everything that the community needs. And we think of the Wonder House as like a fertile soil where everybody can plant their own seeds and can grow those. And this is how some of the examples over the last years have been anything from being a safe space for the homosexual community in Kenya, where it is legal, to being a place for healing of activists when in our recent protests in Kenya, celebration of African culture, of sexuality, children, men, women, whoever feels home in the Wonder House is coming. And many more. And lastly, it is a community village, a re-enchanted neighborhood. And we really believe that, yes, chosen family is important and being very intentional about your community and the tribe that you're building for your belonging. But we also believe that it is so important that we connect with those who we might not understand that well, who are our neighbors, who live close, but who might be very different in their beliefs, in their background, in their sexuality, in their looks, in their age, in their faith. And so the Wonder House really has become a place for turning neighbors into wanderers. And with that, we invite you. We invite you to create a Wonder House in your own neighborhood, which can literally happen in your own home with the people you know and love, and then expand and expand and expand. Thank you.
Thank you. Together with the CARE manifesto, we can create a Wonder House in Elefsina. Okay, so yeah, fantastic. So thank you very much for this. I noted the term collective muscle because I like that a lot. When we are together, we build a collective muscle because we are a living organism more together. So this is really beautiful. And also what you said about people that don't necessarily agree but are on the same neighborhood. It's so important to enter into dialogue with each other because as the World Human Forum says, we have stopped talking to each other and we just find the solution in violence, but no, we can talk, discuss, and find common ways. So thank you very much for this. And we have some time. I want to ask you something more personal. If you can tell us a little bit about your personal journey. What triggered you to start this initiative or to follow this initiative? And what gives you strength in everyday life to continue it? So Adriana, please.
I think it goes back to my multicultural background. My mother is English and my father is Greek. And I think a lot of mixed families have this, where they don't know where their home is. So I think that's what attracted me to work with Elefsina Greece and attracts me to the refugee crisis. That's ongoing, let's face it. Yeah, I think that's my personal trigger.
Gives you the strength to continue?
The strength to continue. When you're there working, I mean, this is for the Elefsina Greece work, because now I'm a bit further away than from the groundwork, let's say, of community arts organizations. But it's because I know the impact that it gives me strength to move on, and I believe in the programs, in the network so much. Yeah, I saw what it did with the kids. It gives you a lot of, I mean, it's really tiring work, but it gives you what it needs to move on. I remember there was one year we had arranged this concert with Thessaloniki, and we took, I think there were around 10, 20 students with us from the orchestra. A lot of them were from Skaramagas. And one of the students that came from Skaramagas told me, look, this is so surreal, because the last time I was in Thessaloniki, we were trying to leave the country with my family. We were living in the streets, and now I'm here. I'm in a hotel, and I'm going to perform. So yeah, it's really powerful.
Okay. Coming from a finance background, I felt a kind of emptiness. So when I joined the artistic and cultural field, I felt that this somehow emptiness, was filled in. And when I came, after wandering in different cities, when I arrived in Elefsina in the end of 2014, I somehow said, oh my God, what's here? So somehow all this kind of contrast brought me a lot of inspiration, and trying to, and working in this community, just felt that I belong somehow, somewhere. Oh my God, too personal, but yeah.
On a personal note, my grandfather was a boat builder, and it was in a very distant, in the northeast of the United States, and didn't spend much time in Greece. But I think for that reason and time spent sailing, I always felt very close to the sea. And coming from a family also of Philhellenes, lovers and admirers of Greece, I wanted to find a way to give back a little bit to this place that I feel privileged to be a part of, and to do so in a kind of a trans-local way that also, I grew up between countries and languages, as you say, as well. So doing that in a way that takes various different localities and ideas into account.
For me, I think personally, I felt this journey of inner transformation has been, I was lucky that I stumbled into it very early, or rather that I was sort of pushed into it because of inner pain, and sort of stumbled then through that in my 20s and early 30s. And the more I then connected with others about it and learned that, how much yearning there was actually for it, but how little spaces there was really that. And I specifically had, at some point, I created these pop-up restaurants, that's what it's called, on different topics, on like courage, on transformation, on change, on fear. And people, some friends who were new and others who they brought, they just kept on sitting there for hours and hours, and everybody was so enchanted.
This was in Europe?
No, this was also in Kenya. And just, to experience how much like you invite for food and a bit of an opening and a conversation, and just, how many tears, how much connection was there. And then, talking to Maria, I think we just felt this urge to create a space where this is not just chance, or where this is not just a pop-up. And then to your question of what keeps me going, or us going, is, obviously it's the wanderers. It's where by now we can say proudly, like wherever we are in Nairobi, there is somebody who knows the Wonder House, which is crazy. But wherever you sort of hop up in a space, not everywhere, but in many spaces, somebody's like, oh wow, I met this person there, or I had this experience there that really helped me to connect with myself, or whatever. This serendipitous thing happened, and that's everything.
Thank you. And it's really nice that so many initiatives now are around this, and that neighborhoods are starting again to be formed in a healthy way. As we were presenting this session to friends, and people said, I would like to share something with you. And we know the Cycladic Preservation Fund. I don't know how many of you know, it's an amazing initiative also in the Cyclades. And we have with us in the audience, Yannis Kouskoudis, who would like to share, here he is, if he can have the mic. And I would like, before he starts, to say something about the Cyclades, which is interesting. An archaeologist, Mr. Haniotis, told us that in ancient times, the Greeks wanted to create close networks, neighborhoods. So the Cyclade is a neighborhood of islands that was named Cyclade by the ancient Greeks because it forms a circle. So it's the neighborhood of the Cyclades. And also in the stars, the neighborhood of the stars. So it's this need of humans to come together, to bring things together. So please, Yannis, tell us about your initiative.
I don't know.
He has a video. Can we see his video first? Thank you. Thank you, Yannis, sorry.
It's okay.
Το CPF Islanders Forum είναι πολύ σημαντικό για τη δικτύωση των νησιών.
Δίνει φωνή στους ανθρώπους. Είναι ένα πολύ πλούσιο τριήμερο, το οποίο περιλαμβάνει γνωριμία μεταξύ των φορέων.
Το όραμα είναι κοινό και μας δίνεται η ευκαιρία να γνωρίσουμε το έργο των άλλων φίλων νησιωτών μας.
Και δυναμώνουμε ο ένας τη φωνή του άλλου. Υφαίνει φιλίες, γνωριμίες.
Αρχικά μου έδωσε απίστευτη έμπνευση για αυτό που κάνω εγώ. Τελικά δεν είμαι μόνη, είμαστε κι άλλοι, αλλά είμαστε σε διαφορετικά νησιά.
Βλέπουμε ότι υπάρχουν καλές πρακτικές σε πολλά νησιά για θέματα που απασχολούν όλους μας.
Και να συνεχίζουμε έτσι θέλει πάρα πολύ θάρρος και το βρήκα εδώ.
Αν θέλεις να μάθεις τι γίνεται στις Κυκλάδες, έλα στο Islanders Forum.
Είναι η σύνδεση όλων των παραγόντων στα νησιά.
Because it brings people together and small organizations in general.
And want to work together with our community. So forever grateful for that as well.
Είναι πολύ ελπιδοφόρες αυτές οι συναντήσεις. Μας γεμίζουν όλους ενέργεια. Δεν είναι μόνοι, δεν είμαστε μόνοι. Συνεχίζουμε παρέα.
Γιάννη, ακούμε.
Thank you. Well, the reason I asked to see the video first is that, sorry, it's there's no better introduction about what CPF does than the statements of these people. So I will introduce to you these people. We call them local heroes. They're people who act for their environment in their islands, and it is their ideas, their passion, their work that leads to initiatives of a larger scale. I'll give you an example, maybe you're familiar with that. I will talk about Amorgorama. It's an initiative of local fishermen in Amorgos who decided to protect the neighborhood, their sea, and led eventually the Greek state to recognize around Amorgos fisheries restricted areas. Very important thing for our environment, very important thing about our seas. All these gatherings that you see, we call it Kykladoscope. We use a lot of means, digital means, to hold everyone together. But besides the means, I need to talk about another M word that keeps all these people together. It's motivation. Motivation is what brings people, neighbors, together in order to succeed a lot of things. These people are sure that when they work together, they can succeed more things. So thank you for being here, for the invitation. Thank you for your valuable perspectives. And thank you for choosing neighborhoods as a topic of this symposium, because it has its worth and value, and hopefully neighbors will start changing the world. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Yannis. We're going to be in contact also for the cycladic young generation that we are starting, Alpha Mission Delos. So the other amazing initiative is going to be shared with us by Yannis Sotirakos, who is the founder of Evzine and Big Bag Education. He has there's the mic. Yeah, and he has to share some very interesting information about kids and villages.
Hello, can you hear me? So, if we can also put the presentation, okay, great. Can I have also that? Thank you. So let's try to imagine this. Let's try to imagine what would happen if our civilization would have created an infrastructure, a hub in the center of each neighborhood to re-enchant each neighborhood. thousands and millions of such infrastructure, of such hubs that could be visited every day by billions of people. Imagine then that this infrastructure could be used as regenerating the surrounding environment, the society, the people who go in these hubs and the people around them. And then we can realize that these hubs exist. We call them schools. They are in the center of each neighborhood, millions and thousands all over the world. So the only thing that we would need to do is to repurpose them or to redirect them towards acting as actual cells of life, as regenerating cells for their environment. That's what our new initiative, which we call Schools for Life, is about. And we started by an experiment this summer in a remote village in Vounatsou, in Pindos, in northern Greece. And I would like to share what happened there, which was, because it was really amazing. We actually took over 100 children from the Big Bang school. I actually took over the village for 2 weeks. And these children, by their energy alone, they brought energy and re-enchanted and regenerated the village by their energy alone. They regenerated and they brought life to the residents, which were actually much less than the children during the time. Only 20, 30 people live actually during the winter in Vounatsou. By organizing small happenings, events, providing offerings, taking interviews from the people there and understanding how they live, and also vice versa. Connecting and exploring nature around the village in Valia Calda. It's one of the one of the best places to explore nature actually, and learning by doing in a wide range of activities. Actually, also being able for children to being actually children, playing freely without any supervision, and in an environment of 100% safe and without any distractions. At this time, during this camp, we presented for them the initiative, the Schools for Life initiative, and the children get it immediately. Because if, we would like to make also a sum up of what has been said here today, it is clear that we need a new paradigm. It is clear that we have been, our civilization and civilizations before ours have been focused too much on ourselves, too much on humans, too much on humans being, constructing and creating the artificial, forgetting that we are natural beings who need nature around us, who need the biosphere to continue living. So it's time, in ekeros, as we say in Greek, to repurpose our civilization for life, to repurpose economy for life, arts for life, education for life. We are starting with education, we are starting with schools, and we hope that this will give a good example for everybody else to join. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Yannis. It's amazing how a village, with only 30 people was rejuvenated. Thank you very much. I would like to ask, are there any questions from the... Do we have time, actually, for questions? Maybe. Okay. Or somebody wants to share something? Yeah, there's a lady there, please.
First of all, thank you very, very much for such inspiration and hope that you brought. And you're also young. So thank you. And thank you so much to the World Human Forum for this panel. My question is, how do you survive financially? That's a question to Jacob, Victoria, Adriana, Yanis. How does these amazing projects that give so much hope are sustainable? Are they sustainable? How do they survive financially? If you want to answer, of course.
I can get started. Very easy question. Of course, it's not an easy one. What we try to basically do is have various ways of contribution, as I shared, and various ways of people contributing also financially. So through the experiences, some people are contributing financially, and so that covers a bit. What we also do is then a couple of different things. So the space obviously is a beautiful space. So if somebody wants to do like a leadership retreat or something with the organization, we basically then rent it out for that. We sell bags and bread. We make our own bread. We have kombucha. We're sort of doing additional things that keep it going. We have a residency where also people are coming through, and then we created a couple of different studios. So we have a pottery studio, an embroidery studio, a sort of a well-being space with a sauna. So people, because there was a physical space and there was a lot going on, people came and wanted to sort of plant themselves into the space. And for those who can, it's a bit of a Robin Hood kind of situation. For those who can, we ask them to contribute financially, and from that we can basically make it work.
Yeah, I think it's great that you stress actually like finding ways as a nonprofit or social enterprise to generate your own forms of revenue, because I mean, in Greece, it's a very specific and different discussion, but I think the culture around nonprofits and grant giving is also very, I think, restricted compared to a lot of other European and non-Greek countries. So that's something that from a policy level, I think could be really worked on, encouraging, like there's no, donations to nonprofits are not tax deductible in Greece. That's like a very basic fact that I think could change. Yeah, I think it's kind of I'm happy to have the conversation with you afterwards about the kind of grant-making scheme in Greece, but I think the most important thing is to really find your own ways of kind of generating forms of revenue based on the things that you do. That's really the only path forward. I think anything that relies on grants in Greece, even if it's diversified with EU, Greek, I think it ultimately leads to kind of burnout, I would say. So find ways to, imaginatively sort of allow people to contribute to the project that you do based on its essence, I would say, yeah.
The reason I asked this question is to be inspired, because I have met many young people in Greece that have amazing ideas, they're capable of realizing them, but they're afraid they will never find funding.
Okay.
I think my situation is quite different.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much for the question. And let me say that